Hey guys, I just want to thank everyone for the immense support I've received over the past few months. There's a lot of content I'd like to work on in the near future, but for now I'd like to touch upon a few things from my previous video about Kris, as well as some additional points that people brought up after the fact. This will probably be a fairly short video, but I figured with the success of my Kris theory, it was best to address some additional findings, both for and against my theory. But real quick, I just want to address one of the bigger misconceptions about my previous argument. Some people got the impression that I thought Toriel was in favor of Kris opening the dark fountain or slashing the tires. Just to clarify, I don't think Toriel was an accomplice so much as this tire slashing was a necessary step in Kris's mind to ensure that Susie would stay the night. That is, if they slash the tires, and I'll touch on that in a second. Likewise, I think they wanted to bring the cops over, as stated in that video. After all, every time you talk to Undyne about the Dark Worlds, they show genuine concern and seem to really want her to either take action or at least listen about the possible risks. And while this is optional dialogue, it's still important characterization for them. Furthermore, there's a possibility that Kris didn't slash the tires, even if I don't fully believe it myself. We don't see what happened outside. I've even seen a few folks suggest it was a fake-out just like the pie gag at the start of Chapter 2. While I think it's a bit of a stretch at this time, there could be a separate prowler around town, perhaps even the night, and the tire slashing was a warning to Kris. With the game so early in production, it's too early to say, especially when we don't even know if the Roaring Knight is acting with malicious intent, but I figured it was worth noting since several people in my Discord server brought it up. Moving on to the meat of the video, I'd like to bring up some interesting evidence both for and against Kris being the Knight. In the 6th anniversary livestream, Toby shared many Deltarune tracks that he never got to use, with behind-the-scenes information. One of these included an unused intro sequence, where he described the main party going up a long staircase, passing silhouettes of the chapter bosses before meeting the Knight in front of a large white door. This was scrapped due to how difficult it would have been to program, and while you can argue that this is unused content and shouldn't count, the fact that the Knight is described as a separate entity from Kris, and a crucial part of this intro sequence, is still worth noting all the same. Kris planned this beforehand? At the start of Chapter 2, if you interact with the bathroom sink, it'll mention that it's not time to wash your hands yet. The TV is also plugged in, while it wasn't the night before. Before Kris does their epic window pratfall, they distinctly choose not to use the kitchen sink in favor of the bathroom. I think it's likely that Kris planned to have Susie overnight regardless of what came next. She's their first friend they've made in a long time, so I could see them doing selfish and reckless acts to keep her close, even if she does live a short distance away. Toriel also mentions Kris has a habit of leaving the sink on and doing weird stuff at night, so this could tie into them possibly doing something else outside. We'll have to wait and see. However, I think the TV is easy to explain. If Susie came over to work on the project, it makes sense to have the TV plugged in case she wanted to watch some shows or play some video games after they complete their homework. And while it's true that Kris did turn on the TV before opening the Dark Fountain, it's possible that they did this to experiment after Queen explained that any Lightner can make a dark world. Is Kris possessed? I've seen some people argue that when Kris moves the soul, they are possessed, usually by the Knight. Frankly, I just don't think this is true. For starters, I feel like it'd fly in the face of the meta-commentary that's been established since Chapter 1. The people around town notice when we make Kris behave in abnormal ways. This continues into Chapter 2 with some dialogue choices as well. Moreover, Kris and Spamton have direct parallels in their desire for control and freedom. The way Spamton's fight ends with the strings cut clearly upsets Kris no matter which dialogue option you choose. In short, there's no reason to believe Kris is being possessed by any force outside of ourselves. The shambling around is likely the result of the strain from removing the soul. Their movements seem very sluggish, and they always put the soul back in the end. Plus, we can control the soul in the cage, which clearly represents us as the player. The soul is how we control Kris, and while it's true that they can act independently in some cutscenes, that may be due to the meta nature of video games. When cutscenes are playing, we don't have direct control over any of Kris's actions outside of some dialogue choices. Thus, they can exploit the in-game mechanics to gain a little more freedom. Case in point, look at how they back up when Queen approaches Noelle in Chapter 2. It's similar to when they protect Susie against King in Chapter 1. Lastly, we have no reason to believe that the Knight can just randomly possess Kris. Something obviously put us in control of them, rather than the vessel, but for now, there's no indication if it was the Knight, Gaster, or something else entirely. Until more chapters release, all we really have to go off of on the Knight is that they have determination, can open fountains, and that's it. Spamton also knows something about them, but he won't reveal it to Kris. On that note, isn't it interesting how Spamton addresses Kris as though they don't know the Knight personally? With Spantum's great meta-knowledge, I think this further proves that the Knight is a separate entity from Kris. But let's talk about the closet in the computer lab real quick. A few of my commenters pointed out that it didn't make sense for the fountain to form in the computer room closet. They cited Queen's laptop form as evidence, as she had to be able to get the footage from somewhere, perhaps even a webcam. While it's true that she may have caught it on such a camera, I see two possible explanations. One, another device in the closet caught the video, as it seems to correlate to the mansion. Or perhaps the Knight crept behind Birdley and Noelle to open the fountain and fled in the ensuing smoke and shadows. With the positioning of the closet, they could have hidden there for a while, tiptoed out, went behind the table, and made their move. If the Knight didn't return to the closet, then they could have left through the front door and taken advantage of the annoying dog's traffic jam to evade detection. And no, I don't think the flavor text was just for Snowgrave. Birdley is not a large person. As you can see, he's pretty average for a teenage monster. I still believe the emphasis on a large person is worth considering as a potential Chekhov's gun, but we'll have to see what comes next. Kris's save file. Another argument I've seen is the existence of Kris's save file, and the fact that they already had one in the Dark World. But the point from my previous video still stands. Kris was afraid of the supply closet and backed away, and I also believe there's an alternate reason why they might have had a save. This is purely speculation, but it's been established that Kris is scared of the bunker. In my Des video, I proposed that Kris and Des had a childhood encounter with the bunker, but only Kris escaped. Let me also propose that this is where Kris's Dark World save came from. The bunker makes the same garbage noise you get when you use the phone in Dark Worlds, but slowed down by -666%. It also has a set of double doors, which is a common design motif for the rest of the Dark Worlds. It wouldn't surprise me if Kris escaped the bunker, thus creating their link with the Dark World, lost their red-horned headband in the escape, which is why it's been missing for so long, and potentially that headband could have been used to create Ralsei, hence his pink horns. The prophecy could have been completely manufactured by Gaster or whoever runs the bunker. Our save is in Kris's name again at the start of Chapter 2, but that could easily be explained as our connection being temporarily severed. As on the Twitter feed leading up to Chapter 2's release, Gaster did mention re-establishing the connection. But there's one more reason I feel that Kris is not the Knight that is probably the most significant argument of all. Now, there is an argument to be made that Noelle and Birdley could have entered the Dark World the same way that Kris and Susie did in Chapter 1, where they wandered in darkness a bit before falling. There's just one problem. Ralsei didn't notice this Dark World until after Kris and Susie were already inside of it. And look here, there's a single sparkle that leaves Kris's pocket, which is later revealed to be Rule's card. Ralsei does not manifest as an object, or if he does, it's clearly not seen. Ralsei stayed overnight in Castletown to prepare the new rooms, so he is decidedly not another object on Kris's person. What's more, if he had detected Cyberworld sooner, that would have been the first thing he told Kris, given how opposed he is to additional fountains. Due to the timing of these events, we can narrow down the Cyberworld fountain formation to after school, specifically after Kris and Susie left to do homework. We know that Birdley and Noelle went ahead of Kris and Susie to the library, as Noelle approached them before they entered the supply closet and then took off. We also know that Noelle and Birdley had their books on the table when the fountain closed, as previously mentioned. And while yes, Kris and Susie entered the Dark World through the supply closet and not the unused classroom, the fountain they sealed was located in that classroom. So, technically speaking, they couldn't have been dropped where they started when the fountain didn't correlate. Not the case with the computer room. So here's what I think happened. The Knight comes in as a normal library guest, goes into the computer lab, and hides in the closet. Noelle and Birdley make their way into study while the annoying dog leaves and causes the traffic jam. The Knight sneaks past Noelle and Birdley, opens a fountain, and then bails as the darkness floods the room. They then take advantage of the traffic jam and bolt off. Of course, this is all still speculative. At the end of the day, we're still waiting on the next batch of chapters to resolve the cliffhanger in Chapter 2. I just feel that a lot of the arguments surrounding this topic miss tiny details in favor of the obvious approach. I understand a lot of people follow Occam's razor, but Undertale has already set a precedent of going for more obtuse plot threads, like how you name Kara instead of Frisk. But that's just my take. Let me know what you think in the comments below. A special thanks to my patrons, whose names you should be seeing right about now. If you'd like to join my Patreon and help me make content creation a full-time gig while getting access to cool bonus content, just follow the link in the description or in the pinned comment. I will be producing more videos soon. I just need to replace some parts of Deltarune and Undertale, as well as get working on that Terra analysis. In the meantime, I'll be releasing some more music and Inverted Fate content on the side. If you're just here for the analyses though, don't worry, those aren't going anywhere. Thanks for watching, and a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you who reached the end.